Yo, what's good YouTube, man? It's Gary from Standout Fan TV, man. Back at another video. Like the content of this video, go smash that like button, like the content of this channel. Go ahead and subscribe, man. Look, alright, Ravens versus Commanders happened, and obviously the Ravens preseason streak is now over with, right? I never cared too much about the preseason streak. It is what it is. It was nice to see the Ravens win in general, but at the end of the day, it's preseason. If you lose, you lose, right? Streak is over with. Now you go out next week. Hopefully, you start a new streak, right? All right. So what we'll do is we'll talk about some standout performers, and we'll talk a little bit about the game. Several players who stood out. Several players who I didn't think had the greatest games. Things like that. Kind of how we did last week with the Eagles game, all right? So for standout performers, I usually try not to pick anybody that's tried, or at least for preseason, that's like the obvious guys, right? But I do still want to talk about Zay Flowers, right? Zay Flowers was incredible in the one series that he played. Electric. Every time he touches the ball, it's like you can feel the energy in the stadium changing, right? He caught one on Brent on I won't say Brent Forbes again. He caught one on Emmanuel Forbes, made him miss. Then made another guy miss, first down. Then he catches one off a rollout, makes two guys miss, touchdown. So Zay Flowers, to me, I don't need to see anything week 3 preseason. Just get him out there for Houston week 1. He's done enough, man. He's been one of the stars of training camp, one of the stars of the off season, and he hasn't slowed down at all. His first preseason game, obviously, he had that one rushing attempt for 1 yard, but this game, a lot better. I mean, he looked like he was ready to torch the Commander secondary all night if the Ravens would have kept him in the game. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that what I saw from him, and that yeah, man. I'm happy that also the Ravens took him out and beat. They said, okay, cool. You did what you needed to do. Now come on, get out the game. So I thought that was great on both ends. Zay Flowers was incredible. He's not one of my stand-up performers just because I expect that from him, but I gotta mention his play. I gotta mention his play. And another guy that's going to make the team that I'm not really mentioning as a stand-up performer, but Justice Hill, I thought looked really explosive, looked really good. Justice Hill really could be some teams like running back too. He just happens to be on the Ravens where they got J.K. and Gus Edwards and things like that. So Justice Hill has gotten better seemingly each and every year he's been on the team. But yeah, man, I thought those two guys were really, really good when it comes to the Ravens offense, the starting offense for the Ravens in those first couple drives of the game. So I want to mention those two guys before I get to my other stand-up performance. So, all right. So I believe I have 2 on offense, 2 on defense, right? So one of the stand-up performers on offense is Travis vocalek, right? Tight end, undrafted. This dude catches everything. I mentioned him a couple weeks ago on like my first preseason watch list, I believe. That he was getting a lot of hype. Not a lot of hype, I won't say hype, but he was getting a lot of mention from the reporters during training camp. And then when you see him, it's like, yeah, he catches everything. He's a big guy, but he can move. He's smooth, he's fluid. So I really like what Travis vocalek is doing out there. 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, 28 yards off of 4 targets. Big body in the red zone. Anthony Brown for a second touchdown hits him with an absolute dot in between 3 defenders. He catches his strong hands like those guys aren't even there, right? So Travis vocalek, I don't think he has a shot of making the 53-man roster, and he's playing so well that if the Ravens try to keep him on the practice squad, he might get snatched, right? Now one of my guys on Twitter, one of my closest friends, he mentioned that maybe the Ravens try to do a little, say he got like an IR, like a minor injury and put him on IR for the year. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think they'll do that, but he's playing that well where you could consider it. I mean, because he looks like a really talented tight end, right? And the Ravens keep finding these guys. So they have Kohler, likely Andrews, obviously. I don't think they're going to keep a 4th tight end on the active day roster. That's just my opinion. But I think they will try some way to keep Travis vocalek on this team somehow, some way, somehow, whether it's practice squad IR. They'll try something to keep this guy because he's playing really, really well. All right. That's one guy on offense. One guy on defense is Darius Washington, right? Darius Washington, we've been talking about him for a while. I seem like I talk about him pretty much every training camp video. He's the leader in terms of who's going to play that cornerback 3 spot. In my opinion, he's the guy that every time he plays, it gets a significant amount of snaps. He plays well. Last night, he had 7 tackles, 5 solo tackles, and 3 pass breakups. So he was all over the field. He's a smaller guy, but he'll mix it up. He'll get in there. You know what I mean? So I love what I see from Darius Washington on a consistent basis. I hope that when the Ravens are, I guess, playing out who's going to start week 1, that they heavily consider Darius Washington as their nickel guy, right? If the Ravens can roll out with, hopefully he's back by then, but if the Ravens can roll out with Rocket Seaton on one side, Ronald Darby on the other side, or Jalen Armour Davis is healthy, but probably Ronald Darby at this point, I don't know. And Darius Washington as your slot, I would be happy with that considering how thin the cornerback position is. I will be happy with those 3 guys as the main 3 guys starting the season until Marlon can get back healthy, right? I will be happy with those 3 guys. All right. And so let's go back to offense. And another tight end, I just mentioned him, but Charlie Kohler, I thought played really well. He did drop his first pass of the game. So he had 3 targets, 2 catches, 61 yards. He did drop his first pass of the game, but the next 2, he had 2 catches, 61 yards. I thought that he made some really, really good plays over the top. His 2 catches were pretty much big seam throws that Josh Johnson fit into a tight area, and he used his big body, his big frame to go up there and make the play. Kohler's another guy that's been having a solid training camp. Now he's definitely throwing the depth chart when it comes to tight ends, but he's proven that he should make the team and be on this roster. I don't think there was any doubt that he would make the team, but he's showing well, right? I thought that he's been good during training camp. I think that he's been good during this game. So I like what I saw from Charlie Kohler. I want to see him continue to build upon that, right, and get better. So Charlie Kohler, thumbs up for me. And then the last guy I want to talk about on defense is Travis Jones, right? Travis Jones had. Let me get to it. Hold on one second. He had 3 tackles, 1 TFL, and he had a pass deflection. Unfortunately, that pass deflection ended up being a catch by Jahan Dotson, but he got his hands up in the pass lane and made the play. Unfortunately, tipped up in the air right to a Commander's receiver. Anyway, but I really like what I saw from Travis Jones. He was strong. He was muscling these guys on the offensive line for the Commanders. This was the Commanders' starting offensive line he was playing against, right? The Commanders are, so happy that they beat the Ravens during this preseason streak, talking trash. They had their offense out there. They had their what's going to probably be their week 1 starting offense out there for an entire half versus the Ravens backup. You know what I mean? And the Ravens back was more than held their own out there. So Travis Jones was one of those guys that we talked about. I expect him to have a big year. I expect him to do what he did last night, which is manhandle people, right? Michael Pierce did an interview with the Lounge podcast like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I don't know at this point. I don't know. But he said Travis Jones is the second strongest teammate he's ever been around, right? He said the only guy stronger than Travis Jones he's ever been around was Linval Joseph, right? So you want to see how high praise that is. Look up Linval Joseph, right, and see how strong that dude is. So Travis Jones is a freak. I love the way he played last night. And so those 4 guys are my week 2 preseason stand-up performers. So both the tight ends, vocalek, Kohler, and you get down to on the defense, Darius Washington, Travis Jones. Now, real quickly, I do want to mention some honorable mention guys that I thought played well, or that needed to see some improvement. So we're gonna start with the guys I thought played well. Josh Johnson vastly improved from week 1 to week 2, right? Vastly improved, and I can't end the video without mentioning that he was really, really good last night. All right. If he's in the whole game, the Ravens probably win the game. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I don't really care about the Preseason streak. But if he was in the whole game, the Ravens probably win that game. So he vastly improved. So shout out to Josh Johnson. To me, I'm still taking Tyler Huntley easily as a QB2. But I love what Josh Johnson did last night. Really did. All right. Who else I want to mention? I hope he's not hurt. Keaton Mitchell had that one run, 31 yards. He is so fast, so electric. I think he injured his shoulder doing a kickoff return, like in the 3rd, 4th quarter. I can't remember which quarter. But I hope he's okay. He left the game, didn't return. I hope he's okay because, man, he is fun to watch. All right. On On defense, Malik Ham forced the fumble that the new defensive back, Houston Carson recovered. Malik Ham continues to do things and make plays out there. Jeremiah Moon had a sack. He's been on the Ravens for now. This is his second year on the Ravens. He's making an impression. So I let a couple of guys have really good games that deserved a little bit of a mention here. All right. Now, it's not to pick on guys, but I gotta be honest, two guys that I wanted to see more from: Brandon Stephens, James Prochet. All right, now Brandon Stephens, you know, they lined him up at corner. Harbaugh mentioned the fact that, I love Brandon Stephens at outside corner, and maybe sometimes even better than safety, whatever, which doesn't make any sense because if you loved him that much at outside corner, you would just keep him at outside corner. You wouldn't keep switching his position. Now, nonetheless, he said that during training camp practice, like sometime last week. Brandon Stephens, to me, he just simply can't keep up with NFL wide receivers. Now, Terry McLaurin is one of the best in the league, so it's no shame in getting torched by Terry McLaurin. It's no shame in that. He's one of the best in the league. But it's just a simple fact that it doesn't really matter to like who he was on. I'm not a fan of how he plays in coverage against wide receivers. I just don't think that suits his strong, what he does best. I think he's a physical, try to make you change directions kind of guy. And sometimes when he can't get his hands on receivers properly, they're going to win. I know the Ravens are thin at cornerback, but I'm not really too interested in seeing him play cornerback. I think if you're going to get the best out of Brandon Stephens, try to make him play safety, try to make him guard tight ends, and see what happens. All right. Then offense, I said James Prochet. Pro had it seemed like he just has really, really bad luck, man. Just really, really bad luck. And he dropped the pass that he should have caught. Even if he caught it, the throw wasn't that good by Josh Johnson. He probably would have caught it out of bounds. But instead, he drops it almost into the Washington Commanders defender's hand, who catches it for the interception. James Prochet got a lot going on, personal life and things like that. I just don't think that he's 100% in the mental headspace right now to play. I think he probably needs some time off. I think that, and I understand, man, when you go through somebody passing, it's tough, So I just think he's playing with zero confidence. He looks like a shell of the guy he was before. I'm not saying he was some world beater before, but that confidence that James Prochet used to have, I just don't see it anymore when he's playing it. So if the Ravens were to, cut James Prochet in these first round of cuts, I wouldn't be surprised at all. You know what I mean? I really wouldn't be. But that's my Ravens versus Commanders kind of breakdown from the Ravens' point of view. Yes, they lost the preseason streak, but it is what it is. It's preseason. You move on with life. But I really did like to say Standout Performers once again: vocalek, Kohler, Darius Washington, Travis Jones. And also, just want to say, man, what a great game from Zay Flowers. But I'm going to get out of here, man. Thank you guys. If you stay to this point in the video, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Gabriel, just on Fan TV. I'm out.